Welcome to the B'nai B'rith International Podcast. I'm CEO Dan Mariaschin. Thank you for tuning in today. I hope everyone is staying home and taking care of themselves and staying safe. I'm joined today by a special guest, Yoel HarEven, Director of the International Division and Resource Development at Sheba Medical Center, part of Telemedicine Hospital in Ramat Gan, Israel. As Director of the International Division, Yoel oversees everything Sheba does across Israel's borders. This educational and humanitarian outreach also includes overseas missions to deliver aid and emergency medicine, training and collaborations with international healthcare workers, partnerships with renowned medical institutions worldwide, and Sheba's ARC Innovation Center, which fosters the development of unique digital health capabilities across the spectrum of care. And perhaps Yoel's most important role right now, though, is working on the coronavirus response at Sheba Medical Center. The center is at the forefront of dealing with the coronavirus in Israel, utilizing specialized isolation units and creating underground units for ICU care. The experts at Sheba are also developing simulations and courses on how to communicate with patients, families, and others in end-of-life scenarios. Some of the initiatives Yoel is overseeing at Sheba to combat the virus will likely be used all over the world as countries try to save lives. Now, in our conversation, we'll be talking about all of this, how Yoel is managing his staff and working with his colleagues in a time of crisis, and about Sheba Medical Center's role in fighting the coronavirus pandemic. Thank you, Yoel, for joining us today.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon from Tel Shomer, Israel.
Well, I have a large number of relatives in Israel and am trying to follow the crisis there. But for our listeners who don't have family there, what's it like in Israel today?
So most of the population here in Israel are very follow restricted rules. So, usually it's take me in the morning to drive to Sheba, 45 minutes. Today it was 15 minutes. So most of the Israelis stay home, don't go outside. It took a few days to accept those rules. But right now it's happened to be that the vast majority of the population is well disciplined. We can see it also here in Sheba Medical Center, which the routine procedures went down to 60%, which means that if you are not needed to come to the hospital, you stay at home.
Now, obviously, you're working under tremendous stress, you and your colleagues. But in terms of the virus itself and its treatment, what have you learned in the weeks since your first case?
So first, we learned that the contingency of the virus is very dangerous. So it might act as a flu or a viral infection, but it's the way it turns and moves from patient to patient or from person to person. It's very quick, and it also stays on surface for many, many hours, unlike other viruses that we know from the past. Therefore, the social isolation and the mask that we are wearing, if you're able to see me, you will see that most of the day we are wearing masks. So all the staff, whether they are in connection with patient or when they are staying with the other staff, are wearing masks, using gloves, and keeping our hygiene, especially our hands hygiene, very highly.
Well, all of us have been told to either self-quarantine, isolate ourselves. Essentially, we're all on lockdown. But what do you do inside a medical facility itself? And tell us about these special isolation rooms that you've created.
So because we are live and kicking medical center, we cannot shut down and, tell our patient go home, try to find some other place. We are the biggest and the most comprehensive medical facility in Israel, and therefore our patients need to come and we need to still deliver kits. We need to deal cancer patient, do operations on cancer, and so we need to keep the routine. So we made a decision that we will totally separate as much as we can, the corona situation from the day-to-day, and we will separate even the staff. So we create two kind of staff. Those who were volunteer to treat corona patient, which they are not switching. They are switching with each other, but they are not going into the main hospital. And we made it as much as we can. We separate by building and by distance the corona areas, so we can control the day-to-day life and the routine, and try to contain the routine as much as we able. Meanwhile, in the other side of the hospital, do whatever we need with intensive care, with highly sophisticated machines and telemedicine and the top stuff we can post for this mission for treating corona patients. So first, separate as much as we can and act in dual actions. We moved our way of thinking. We moved to a wartime. So we need to educate, and we educated 3 weeks ago and a month ago our staff that it's a war. We need to act in a wartime. It's like missiles from Gaza, but the difference that we cannot see the enemy right now. But we need to understand that this is a war situation. It's a critical war situation. So we need to follow the rules. We need to follow the instructions. We need to come, we separate, we move to shift 12 to 12. So it's not a regular situation in Israel. We keep checking our staff every day, sometime in some places, 3 times a day for fever, for vital signs, to see that the staff is protected and not got infected by corona. We offer them dormitories if there is a chance that they will infect the other part of the family. We ask them to stay here. We supply them room and dormitories within the hospital, so they will stay here and not go home and infected the other part of the families. So it's not just treating the patient with the best medical and the best physician that we have, but also to give the system and to hug the system with all the need that the medical staff and the patients need for this critical time.
What about the issue of basic supplies? We here in the United States, we're getting reports from various places, particularly where there is a concentration of cases, the state of Washington, New York, hearing about the issue of basic supplies. How are you doing on that front?
I will tell you, it's a little bit tricky, and it's because the Israeli medical system is organized always to keep supplies for wartime. And because since 48, we didn't go out from the wartime situation, we always needed enforced by the Ministry of Health and Ministry of Homeland Security and Defense to keep supplies for weeks and sometimes for months. So within our storage, we have enough supply for the next 2 months. And it's due to the order of, be prepared for war. I think this is on our benefit, which I understand from my colleague in the States and some other places that they are not acting like this in routine times, so they are in a big problem. We got a lot of requesting right now to assist all over the world with supplies, with especially with masks, and we are preparing ourselves in the next coming days to do so.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about that. I mean, now, as of at least last night, before this program, I checked, and I think there are 150 countries. I think there are like 194 countries in the world, but 150 countries now have victims who have tested positive. How much are you hearing from medical and health officials in other countries for advice, and not only for the supplies, but also for advice on how to treat the victims.
So you touch a very, very sensitive but important point. We do a lot of effort. We dedicated a team for those education missions, because learning and teaching, it's not enough to learn. If you know something and not sharing this knowledge, you're not good. You're not a professional. So we try to learn, but also to share the knowledge with our colleagues and with whom is asking for our advice. So the beginning, the Chinese medical array was a huge substitute to learn. And I must say that they share with us freely the information, and we got a lot of interest and medical information regarding what to do or what not to do, or what recommended. And we try even here some of the good things that we heard from the Chinese. Later on, when we go into this cycle of patient and started to treat patient ourselves, we shared our knowledge with our American college, of course, but also with our European college. Right now, there is a huge discussion between Israel and Italy. Try to learn what's going on there. We are very close geographically, but also demographically, and we try to understand why Italy and Spain are acting differently to Germany, which is also a country that we are in a close relations regarding medical exchange and patient knowledge about the corona. So, yeah, the answer is yes, and it's very important to continue share the knowledge. We are running a few webinars from Sheba Medical Center. It's freely because we understand that the United States or America are going to enter within the coming days a huge crisis, which we are already past. So every knowledge and every information that we can share, we will be happy to do this.
Yoel, another word that we hear, and we're all of us as laymen are watching, and we probably learned more medical terms over the past few weeks than at any point in any of our lives. Those of us who are not medical professionals, but one of the words that we hear a lot today is telemedicine. And I understand that you've had some success in using telemedicine in treating the virus while protecting medical staff. Can you talk briefly about that?
Yes, of course. I think it was the first time that the need create the solution. In the past, we have the solution, and we looked to what problem it can answer. But with the coronavirus situation, I think it's for the first time that the situation or the need creates or demand the solution, and we find that in many ways already existing solutions that were created here in Israel and at Sheba were very, very fitted and adjusted to this opportunity, because we want, from the beginning of this crisis, we want to jeopardize our staff as little as we can. So we embedded very, very fast all the technologies that the industry in Israel has to offer, which Taito example, in which you can measure temperature, but also early sense, which you can detect breathing from remote, and some others, internet tools that was developed here to be in a close contact with your patient, but also remember what I'm saying. This situation, this coronavirus situation, will be named in the or booked in the name of medical history for the first time that the medical diagnostics and medical connection between a patient and a physician changed. Until now, it was very, very difficult to convince our physician to abandon the one-on-one situation, which they taught in the medical school that you need to teach to touch your patient, to look into his eyes, and then diagnose him. So this is the first time in mankind, I think, that the coronavirus forced us to look for another tools and to reinvite or recreate a new situation for medical staff to take care of patient. If we need to go inside the isolation and do resuscitation, of course, we will go inside the tent or the isolation area, well protected, and continue do what we touched to do. But basically, something is changing right now due to the coronavirus.
Well, Israel is known as a startup nation and is a great center of innovation for so many different things. Now, I won't ask you for a guarantee of a solution here, but what do you hear about a vaccine being ready, and when do you think it might reach the masses?
This is the $1 zillion question about the vaccine, because if we do have the vaccine, it's going to solve most of the problem around the world. But to be optimistic, it's between a year and a half until we will have one active on the market. It's a long process. It needs to be very, very carefully with all the safety requirements and the regulation that needed, because at the end of the day, we find out it's about life. So we cannot jeopardize no one and going very fast with a product that wasn't tested enough or is not safe enough. So for my experience, we are between a year and and a half until vaccination will be active.
Well, Yoel, thank you for all you and your colleagues are doing. We really offer our sincere appreciation to the medical experts at Sheba and really all health care workers around the world for the difficult, the dangerous, and the very stressful work that they're doing to heal the sick and to contain this virus. And I hope we'll have a chance to bring you back again to check on progress, see where you and Sheba are, and to have another discussion about this terrible time of uncertainty, health uncertainty, in which all of us are living. So thank you again for joining us.
Thank you very much, and appreciate your call, and thank you. Thank you again.
Thanks, everyone, for joining us today. Be sure to visit our website, b'nai-b'rith.org, to learn about our work, like us on Facebook, and follow us on Twitter. And make sure you subscribe to our show on your smartphone on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or Google Play. And lastly, tell a friend about us. For my guest, Yoel HarEven, I'm Dan Mariaschin. We'll talk to you next time on the B'nai B'rith International Podcast. Stay safe, everyone.